You finished a track last week. You know it's good. You feel it, but you haven't released it yet because you're waiting for one person to say, yeah, this is it. Maybe it's your producer friend. Maybe it's a playlist curator. Maybe it's the comment section of a Discord server. And here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. That wait, that's not patience. It's paralysis, and it's destroying your career. Today, we're going to talk about why music validation is the most dangerous addiction in the creative world and exactly how to break free from it. Let me paint you a picture. You make something. You really like it. Then you share it with a group, a close group maybe. They say it's pretty good, but you need to work on your mix a little bit. So you go back, you tweak, you share again. Now someone else says the arrangement feels off. So you fix that too. Weeks pass and the track never comes out. This is what I call the approval loop, and every musician I've spoken with has encountered this at some point of time. Why does it happen? Because we're wired for tribal belonging. Psychologically, seeking validation from your peers isn't weakness, it's ancient survival behavior. Back in the day, being rejected by the group literally meant death. But you're not in the past. You're inside your door. And that same brain that kept your ancestors alive, it's now keeping your music unreleased. Think of any of your favorite artists before they went viral. There were definitely some label executives, some musical peers, and some friends telling them to change their sound, make it more radio friendly, make it more pop. And if those artists had been listening to all of these comments, the song wouldn't be out right now. They didn't make music for the green light. They made it because it was true. The validation followed the work, not the other way around. Now, I'm not saying feedback is useless. The dependency on feedback is what makes it dangerous. There's a massive difference. Here's the problem with external validation in music specifically. Most people don't know what they want until they hear it. In 1956, a young Elvis Presley was told after an audition, "You ain't going nowhere, son. You got to go back to driving a truck." That was a professional music manager saying that. Someone who's paid to know these things. The gatekeepers don't always have the vision. Sometimes you have the vision and nobody else can see it because it doesn't exist yet. Also, feedback reflects someone else's taste, not your purpose. When you send your track to 3 people and they all say something different, that's not information about your music. It's information about them, their references, their mood that day, their own insecurities about what music should be. If you make decisions based on that, you're not making music anymore. You're making a Frankenstein track stitched together with the views of multiple people. Also, social media metrics are not truth. I see producers with 300 streams thinking they failed. And I see artists with 3 million streams who haven't made a single track that they are proud of. Streams don't validate craft. They only measure reach. So you have to believe it first. Your music's value is not determined by a number. The goal isn't to stop caring about quality. It's to own your definition of quality. Ask yourself honestly, do I know when my work is done? Or do I only know when someone else tells me that my work is done? Rick Rubin talks about this consistently. He says the artist's job is to access the most authentic version of the work. Not to please the audience, not to even please himself or herself. To be honest with the creative impulse itself. So start keeping a track of how you rate your songs before you show them to anyone else. Build that muscle. Learn to trust your own ear. 2. Prioritize raw output over polished perfection. And here's a challenge. Release an imperfect raw thing this week. Not your best track, not something polished, something real, something now. Prince, the legend, recorded 500 songs that were never released in his lifetime. Because he was always creating. He wasn't waiting. The vault wasn't insecurity. It was overflow. He had so much output that validation became irrelevant. He was too busy making the next track. Volume of output builds confidence that any single feedback ever will. I'm not saying work in total isolation. Instead, work with very few people who you really trust with their musical sense and their musical tastes, and who you deeply respect. And also, you need to know that they are looking out for the best in you. Share it with these people. Get specific feedback on specific things and then close the loop. Not a group chat, not a Reddit, not a comment section, a small chosen trusted circle, and then you decide. The director Christopher Nolan famously doesn't do test screenings. He said the process of trying to make a film palatable to the audience would compromise the very thing that makes it his. And somehow the film still connects with millions. I want to get real with you for a second. When you outsource your creative judgment to others repeatedly, you don't just delay your releases. You slowly lose the ability to hear yourself and trust what's good. You forget what you actually like. You forget why you started. You start making music that sounds like what you think people want, and it sounds like nobody because it came from nowhere. The artists who last, they validate themselves through the art of creation itself. not through the response to it. Here's what I want you to do after watching this. Go to your project folder. Find a track you've been sitting on, the one you haven't released because you're waiting for a sign, a nod, a green light from someone else. And ask yourself honestly, is this unfinished or is it just unvalidated? If it's the second one, release it on a priority, not when it's perfect, now. Because progress in music doesn't come from perfect releases. It comes from consistent, courageous output. If this video hit something real for you, drop a comment. Tell me, what's the one track that you've not released and what's holding you back? I read every single one. And if you know a musician who's stuck in this loop, send them this video. It might be the thing that finally gets them moving. I'm Saurabh. This is Music in Progress. Let's keep building. See you next time.